Call to order the 897th meeting of the directors of MSAD27.
Keith Gendreau. No. Isabel Lozier.
Here.
Abigail Fuller.
Here.
Toby Gendreau.
Here.
Leroy McKenzie. Here. Gary Sidney. No. Sarah Ashley.
Here. Adjustments to the agenda.
We have none.
And we have no public, so we're just in participation. Minutes. Second. Are you moving with
All of
that
them.
for both?
All of them, past, present, future.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Approval of financial statements for February and March.
Emailed those on Saturday morning. Probably do it. A copy. There's them. Oh, I don't know.
Anything concerning Lucy?
No. Well, at this time of year, I kind of look to see the forecast, what we have anticipated carry forward and what outstanding projects that we will try to tackle. We've got a handful that we're going to tackle first.
Mhm.
The one thing that I may try to do, if we have enough to carry forward, is next year is supposed to be the 27th pay period year for our hourly staff.
Mhm.
But the very first pay period in July is all old year amounts. So I'll pay those on June 30th.
Mhm.
And then next year, we'll have a 26-year pay period. So
Cool.
providing everything is going same as what we're doing, we're doing good.
So move.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Superintendent.
We had a couple of updates last week, school guidance updates and some standard operating procedure updates, which prompted about 50 meetings between school staff, superintendents, everyone just going a little bit crazy. Part of the problem was the school guidance updates that were provided to us by the DOE was a working document and not an official priority notice. So we weren't sure if, and it was called draft, and we weren't sure if the draft was official or not. And come to find out by the end of the week, the draft was official and we were to go by that. So there were a lot of questions, but we kind of sorted through what it all means. And I'm just going to summarize kind of some of the highlights. Recent changes to the mask mandates, both federal and state, do not apply to school settings. So whatever was in effect today with Governor Mills or the Biden administration doesn't really necessarily apply to school settings. We have our own guidance. Specific to school settings, adults no longer have to social distance, which is why we're all a little bit closer. Masks have to stay on anytime you're inside the school building. Outside the school building, it's masks off and no social distancing for anyone. Kind of a confusing, really fast moving guidance, but the Department of Human Services, Maine Department of Human Services, and the governor's office were unanimous in that guidance. So I had a direct message from the DOE, no distancing, no masking outdoors, all in caps, so I was like, okay, this is.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
So that's happening. Next fall, they're saying schools will not have to social distance students inside buildings as long as we participate in pool testing strategy. So we're going to talk with our nurses about how that looks and what that means. We're not overly concerned. We can still pull off the 3-foot distancing and get all kids inside. So it's not a super urgency. It's all about just how to make that work because our nurses are very busy to begin with. So to add a pool testing strategy to the top of that, we'll see how that goes. So more on that as we work with our school nurses. Vaccinated people, asymptomatic people do not need to quarantine if they're close contacts, as long as pool testing is in place. So there's going to be all kinds of different moving targets if pool testing is in place. We're going to look at all of those things as well. Eating and drinking still requires 6-foot distancing for all, so that hasn't changed. So whenever your mask is off, it's still 6 feet. Some guidance and music went down from 14 feet to 6 feet, and then PE classes and our sports team can now use locker rooms. So those things happened last week. We also, at the end of the week, got a message from the DOE that they will not be putting out a special list of guidance specific to graduations. They said everything that you have in place now that you know about has to be in place for graduation. So for our graduation here, Mr. Coletta, Mr. Doucette are looking at the best way to fit as many people in the gym as possible. And they figured out that if they do cohorts of families, 6 feet apart from each cohort of family, I think what they're going to do is give each graduate 5 or 6 tickets. And that family group is gonna be cohorted together, not socially distanced, and then they're gonna spread out those cohorts. And I think they can get, I forget the number they said, 250 to 300 people, which is good. They talked to the class about possibly outside again, but with all of the unknowns weather-wise and rescheduling, everyone was a little uncomfortable. We realized that last year was a blessing and it happened, but it came close last year too because it rained right before the ceremony, and so you never know. So the class and the administrators really want to proceed with an indoor graduation. So we will be proceeding with indoor, try to get as many adults and family members in as possible. So that's where we are right now with respect to guidance. And who knows, this week something else might come out and that changes all that, but right now that's what we know.
The same goes for prom and.
Yeah, the nice thing about prom is I talked to Andrea today. They're of course going to the Lonesome Pine Ski Lodge, and they're putting up a tent outdoor. So now that tent becomes outdoor setting, no social distancing, no face masking, as long as they're outside in the tent. So the class plans to spend their time in the tent and not inside the lodge. Because it is a school function, school rules need to apply. So the masking would need to happen and 3-foot distancing if they're going to go inside the lodge. Outside in the tent, it's outside. So I know that they're also looking at the 8th grade promotion, the 6th grade promotion. Both are going to happen in this gym here because Mr. Neto does not have enough space. So they're putting out messages specific to that as well.
Cool.
How are teachers doing for immunization?
I know that today we got a message from Nurse Monique that our 7th through 12th graders are at 40% with at least 1 shot, which is good. This is pretty new. Our staff members, I believe, district-wide, we're upwards of 60% is where we are. But I haven't got that update since I last asked a couple weeks ago.
I would have expected it to be higher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too. And for whatever reasons, I can get a firm, a better firm number, because I know for some of the unknowns, it was nobody had reported, but the nurses suspected they had been vaccinated. So we can find out a better number.
Yeah, because it's going to make a difference because we do have some sort of issue where they have to isolate or quarantine if they're not vaccinated, and having 40% that's not vaccinated is not acceptable.
Right. The only mitigation strategy we have to combat that is our serial testing, where if you're a close contact, you're not vaccinated, I'm gonna mandate you come to work. Our nurses are gonna test you in your car, get the rapid result. If you are not positive, you can come to work that day.
Mm.
That's the best we can do, aside from, I think when the emergency use authorization goes to regular authorization, there's been some chatter about schools possibly mandating vaccination. I know that the colleges are doing it right now. My son got notice that he cannot come back to us unless he's vaccinated. So it's only a matter of time, I think, before schools go that way as well. There are other required vaccinations, so.
And that whole thing goes into effect for this next school year, correct?
Yeah. The southern Maine schools especially, Cumberland County, York County, who have not had their kids in because they cannot create 3 feet of distancing, they just can't. And they've been looking at purchasing half of the vacant buildings in their towns in order to get kids in school next year. I think this strategy here was the DOE's way of using an incentive to get all kids in school. Saying if you do this pool testing thing that we say that we hear is the cutting edge, this is how you can do it. For us, we already have our kids in, but it's the staffing that I'm worried about. If we have to send everyone to remote learning, because we have 4 bus drivers who are close contacts, that's not going to work.
Yeah, I think that's a bigger concern than anything else.
Yeah.
Because we can't afford to lose any staff.
No, absolutely. No, especially just for required quarantine.
Yeah. Well, especially because you can be avoided, right?
Yeah.
Just get your shot.
Yeah.
This work. It's awesome.
Agreed. So that's all I have on those updates.
All right, committee report.
We would like to have a committee report for the negotiations, and in order to do so, I'd like us to enter into executive session.
So move.
Second. There.
So I go to you.
Really?
Yeah. Congratulations.
Motion to exit.
Second.
All those in favor?
Thought Mr. Sibley would show up, but.
He's farming.
Yeah, well, it was maybe it's getting done. Maybe not.
I think he also forgot what day it was.
I literally forgot it at 5 o'clock until it was 4:30. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna sit and eat my supper with my family and then go.
Old business.
Under old business, I have the MSAD27 technology. Last meeting, we talked about the possibility of working with SAD33 in a contract agreement for our technology coordinator. SAD33 was very much in favor of this at a rate of 1/5 of Anne-Marie Goret's salary and benefits. So I provided you all with a sample, I think I did, right? I sent you guys a sample technology coordinator agreement. And that comes from an agreement that we had put together for contracting Mitch Daigle's services to the tech center. So that came from that same template, and then we just reworded it to fit for this agreement. SAD33 has already, they met this morning without me, and they already, their chairman has already signed it, if it's good to go with you guys. If it's not, and you want to work something else out, it's fine, we can get signatures again another time, but it's straightforward. Anne-Marie will provide technology services to MSD33, dividing her work at 4/5 for 27 and 1/5 for 33. She'll remain an employee here. We decide her salary and benefits. For work days and vacation days are determined by us. 80% of her salary and benefits will be paid by us, 20% or 1/5 paid by 33. Professional development, travel, any other expenses are split at that same rate, 80%, 20%. On-site work hours will be determined by her so that she can have that flexibility of where she's working on a given day, but understanding that it's 4/5 for us, 1/5 for them. And then a determination to end this agreement should come at the recommendation of you or the SAD33 board, and that's how we proceed with that. Anybody have suggestions to change anything on this?
I think it looks good.
And what we've calculated, based on the agreement, there would be a slight reduction in our share of her salary and benefits. In addition to that, she would receive an adjustment as well. We did talk about adjusting. So we did adjust. We will be adjusting based on the increase that 33 will be providing. So it's at no cost to you.
How much closer is that adjustment bring her? How closer does it bring her to other?
That's what we looked at, Keith. We looked at what,
Yeah,
the area,
right.
and she falls right in line with her years of experience.
Okay, good.
The only thing I would want is that this just be for a year at a time,
Okay,
Oh,
because it's infinite right now.
so I can do a 1-year agreement.
When do we usually renew contracts for people like her?
Most administrators are on July 1st.
So June to June?
Yeah.
That would, but if there's something we need to do, if there's something we need to change, July would be when we renew her contract anyway.
Yeah.
Or maybe do it with July when we do her contract.
Yeah.
Does that work? Everybody else okay with that?
That makes sense.
So July to July, so if she leaves or if we want to get rid of her or whatever we can, and we're not stuck
Yeah.
being in a situation where we're stuck.
Perfect. Anybody want to make a motion to accept this with the amendment of a 1-year agreement?
So move.
second.
All those in favor, sorry.
Hey, at least you're not on a tractor, Sarah.
New business.
Under new business, we have no retirements, no resignations. We do have a transfer. Last meeting, we did get a resignation from Meredith Baker-Levac. The very same day, we received a request for transfer transfer from Gina Daigle. Gina has extensive bookkeeping experience from Northern Maine Medical Center, and she's going to be the perfect fit. So Lucy and I did accept that transfer just because the qualifications were there. When Meredith does officially give us an idea of when she will be leaving, we have a general idea of September-ish right now, but we'll start posting soon for Gina's replacement as a receptionist. And Gina has already started training with Meredith this week, last week, so they're already learning the ropes. That's all I have.
Move to recess until we go back to the gym.
So move on. Second.
All in favor?
Officially, at the end of the budget hearing, we're gonna have to have a motion to adjourn from there officially.
Okay.
I'll try to remember.
Oh, would it be better if we'd adjourned here?
I think we have to come back.
That's part of this meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It has to be.